I'd always been interested in football and had been a season ticket holder at the club. I support Middlesbrough from when I was 4, and I'd always liked skillful players, and we didn't have too many of them playing in the English leagues. And I remember when I was 11, Brazil played in the World Club Cup in 1982, and a lot of those players there, like Zico, Socrates, Falcao, became my idols. And so I developed a love for Brazilian football, and when my team, Middlesbrough, we got a Brazilian player came to play for us, Juninho, I was lucky enough to become friends with him, and he exposed me to some of the training and gave me insights into how footballers are prepared here, and that eventually led me to giving up my job as a school teacher and starting a career in trying to promote this Brazilian style of football in England. Yeah, I'd played from like being 6, 7 in school, and I don't think I would ever have been good enough to be a professional footballer. But through my degree, which was a sports science degree, I got interested in football coaching, and through being a school teacher as well, getting involved in the coaching aspect. But I was aware that the way children were prepared in England, I didn't think was very good. The training was a lot tactical and a lot focused on positions and not sort of skill based. And when I came here, I saw a completely different approach to football training. Yeah, well, I started a soccer school with Juninho. We started one which we made free to children in Leeds, that any kids could come and have this type of training. But after about 6 months, I was aware that I was basing my whole philosophy and concept just on the ideas I was getting from Juninho, and so I said to him, I'd like to come out here myself. I said I'd like to meet Pele, meet Zico, meet Careca, some of these people, and he started laughing at me and said, you know, these guys are very busy, and he said, I've not met most of these people. But I was persistent, and I don't know how many different letters I sent and faxes and stuff, and all of the people that I wanted to meet, I got to meet on that first trip. I was out here for 2 months, and Juninho had said something to me. He'd said that I'd find in Brazil that even the smallest street corner club in the favela would be more professional in its approach to training than the biggest clubs in England, the Manchester United. And I didn't really understand. I didn't understand what he meant until I actually got out here and saw. And the difference was just a totally different approach to football, an entirely different game. Pele, Zico, Rivelino, Careca. I met the first coach of Ronaldo. I went to some of the poor clubs. I went to the big clubs like São Paulo. I stayed there. And I just spoke to as many different people as I could here about really what the big difference is with a Brazilian player to the English player, to the European player. Because we had this notion in England, I think, for a long time that people here in Brazil were good players because they're born good or because they're playing on the beach or in the street, and that isn't really the case. They play like nobody else because they train like nobody else, and so I've tried to bring that approach to young players in England. It's two things. I think it's the training is a lot different in terms of the use of the ball. The training is first centred on the ball, and I think in England we rush children to playing in teams and stuff. And I give an example, like if you were wanting to learn an instrument in school or something, you would first become good with that instrument before you join with others and played in a school orchestra or something. Whereas in football, people express an interest in playing and they're sort of rushed into a team. So I think in the beginning, football here is an individual thing. It's you and the ball. And then when you're good with the ball, then you can go off and play with others.
Toca a bola, rapaz.
Well, they have an advantage here in that if the children are either at school in the morning or in the afternoon. So if they're in school in the morning, in the afternoon they're free, so they'll go to the club and they may be doing 4 hours training in the club. We've 2 players that I coached in England that have now come out here to play in a club, Resende. And we encourage the kids in England, because they're not getting as much contact time in coaching, we encourage them to work at home, maybe 1-2 hours on their own on an evening. And 2 players that I've got here in Resende, Mohammed and Irfan, we were emailing each other after they came out here, and I said, how much training are you doing now? And they said, well, in the club we're doing 5 hours a day. They said, but don't worry, we're still doing the 2 hours extra as well. And I said, well, that isn't really the point. I said, the reason we were doing the extra was to sort of, you're actually in Brazil now, the 5 hours is probably enough.